Hi, welcome back. So this is in response to the video before this. The reason I say that is because I had prepared with the Lord, what do you want from me to tell and share? And he did. He outlined it with me. He said, here's what I want from you. And then I said, how do you want me to start? And literally the previous video was everything he wanted me to share. And I was like, I don't want to share that. That's really personal. That's really not normal. That's really shocking, controversial even in some cases. And he said, you know what? I obviously don't care if you're offended. And I obviously don't care if you're surprised. And by don't care, I mean it in the nicest way possible. I care if you follow me. I care if you do the one thing I told you to do, that I created you to do, that I made you to do. To seek the Lord with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, and all your strength. Everything you've got. Everything. All of it. Give him everything. And the reason I say that is because I have been told all my life in one way or another by society or church or Bible study or teaching or whatever it is, that the fruit of your life is supposed to be, if you're doing your life well, you're supposed to be serving others. Okay? Now, that in itself is not bad. That's actually biblical. You're not supposed to just isolate yourself and not ever do anything for anyone else. God didn't create you to do that. However, that's not the first commandment. So when I was trying to find him and he said, find me. And then he said, we're going next level. And I said, I don't understand. I don't understand what you want from me. You took me away from everything I know and everyone I love. Now, almost everybody I know is upset at me. Good job, God. Yes, I will blame that back on you because I am talking with you. If you ever have a relationship where you aren't upset at the other person or you don't have like a disagreement, then you're not communicating. Okay? I have a friend who is in marriage for like a decade or more, and they never argued. And they were proud of it. And then it fell apart because one of the people never argued or shared their opinion, and they went to be with someone else who they were sharing their opinion with, who they were communicating with. The other person, they were just tolerating. They were just biding their time. Whatever they were doing, they were not in communication. And so in communication with God, just like the Psalms, I say to him like David, that doesn't make sense. Where are you? Why have you abandoned me? And then at the end of the Psalms of those, it always goes back to, but you are the Lord and I am not. And so I was like, Lord, I feel abandoned. Lord, I feel isolated. I feel unanchored. And he goes, good. What's the one thing I told you to do? And I was like, be in the body, connected. He goes, no. I was like, all right, what is it? He goes, find the greatest commandment. And I was like, all right, what's the greatest commandment? You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, and with all your might, and with all your strength. And that's in a lot of different places, by the way. If you would like, it's in Deuteronomy 6, chapter 6, chapter 10, chapter 11, chapter 30, Joshua 23, Matthew 22, 37 through 39, Mark 12, 30 and 31. Those verses, Luke 10, 27. It's in a lot of places. The reason I say that so quickly is because I'll probably give it to you in the notes, but I will also go over it because he says, come find me all the time in the Old Testament. If you need more places, it's more of Isaiah. Actually, it's in Deuteronomy and it's a lot of places. So he starts with Moses. No, I'm sorry. He started in the Garden of Eden. You want to know where to go, you start in the beginning, Genesis. And what he did was he created you to be with him, and follow hard after him. Be in relationship completely perfectly with him. In the Garden of Eden, in the beginning, it was perfectly in relationship. But something happened. And it's in chapter 3 of Genesis. And it says, now the serpent, so you have Adam, Eve, and God. Right? Those are the three that we have seen, plus the animals in the garden. But the serpent was more crafty than any other beast of the field God had made, and he spoke to the woman. Okay, now y'all, if there's a snake that comes up over here and starts talking to me, I will be shocked. But she wasn't surprised. So one, we know that animals spoke. Or this one could. Two, either a lot of animals spoke, or this one could, or she'd already had conversations with him before. She is not surprised and goes running and hits him over the head and runs away. Okay? She speaks back with him. She's cordial with him. She communicates with him. Watch this. And he said to the woman, indeed, has God said, you shall not eat from any tree of the garden? So it sounds like a very interesting, innocent question. Did God say that? Just remind me a second. What do you think? And the woman replied to the serpent, from the fruit of the trees of the garden we may eat. But from the fruit of the tree which is in the middle of the garden, the knowledge of good and evil, God has said, you shall not eat from it or touch it, or you will die. So she tries to give him an answer back. The problem is, she answered wrong. So God said, don't eat it. He did not say, don't touch it, and you'll die. He said, don't eat it and you will die. Because the relationship will be severed and die. A plant that's uprooted from the ground will die because it's taken away from its source that it's planted in and rooted in and lives in, like our relationship with God. So the woman got it wrong, by the way. Either she was told wrong by Adam, or her relationship with God shows that she just didn't have it like all solidly said. But no matter what happens, we can see a little crack. So the serpent knows what God said because he was there. The serpent said to the woman, you surely will not die. No. God got it wrong. For God knows that in the day you eat from it, your eyes will be opened and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. Okay, here's the point in the story that I want to stop. Because if you have a friend, you have a best friend, and you're in school, and some other kid comes up to you and says, oh my goodness, Crystal, your best friend just said something so mean about you to other people. You have two choices. You can say, oh, wow, I trust what this source said, and I can't believe my best friend said that about me. That's one option. Your second option is to say, no, you stop right there. And then you go to your best friend and you ask them, did you say anything negative about me? Because so-and-so said that. That way, your anchor and allegiance is actually to your best friend, not the source of the information. So your best friend says, no, man, I didn't say that about you. I love you. I'm for you. I am always here for you. We are together. Remember, we're best friends. And you're like, yeah, man, I know. And so you go back to the person, you say, no, you did not tell me the truth. The second option can only happen if you don't put your trust in anything else but your best friend. The problem is we right now and Eve have listened to another source that says, is your best friend really that nice to you? Is your best friend really that good to you? Is your best friend always there for you? Has the best intentions from you? Or is your best friend holding something back from you? And you don't know it, but your eyes will be opened and you will be like him. God, your best friend, knowing good and evil. She didn't stop him when he said your best friend might not have your best intentions. You might not be able to count on your best friend. She didn't stop him and run back to her best friend and say, did you say that? Is he right? You didn't check. You did not double check. What did she do? The woman saw with her eyes that the tree was good for food. So that looked good to her. And it was a delight to the eyes. So it actually is sparkly. Have you ever seen something and you're like, that looks really good? So it's interesting. It's appealing. And that the tree was desirable to make one wise. Oh, this might actually help me. She took from the fruit and she ate it and she shared it and gave it to her husband. That's what we do. We see something we think is good. We analyze it ourselves. We have judged it and found it good to do. So we go ahead and do it. Guess what we do after we do it? We share. Oh, guys, guess what I found over here? Oh, guys, guess what I tried? You'll love it. Oh, guys, look at this. Look at my experience with this. That's what we do. We share. Why do we share? Because if it's something good and it's something we think is good, we want to share it with everybody. That's what she did. She shared it with everybody. Her husband, who was there. And he ate it. Guys, sometimes we do what Eve does and we go, well, did he really say that? Let me judge for myself. Instead of full on trust and going, no, I'm going back and asking him. And then God would have said, no, I didn't say don't touch it. I said don't eat it because if you put it in your body, it will sever our relationship and you will die away from me. Because everything that goes away from God dies. And Satan knows it because he was fully connected to God in front of Jesus from eternity forward and past. And he lost it. He was completely removed and he lost it. So you know what he wants to do? He wants to share it. He wants you to lose it. He wants you to get away from God. He wants you to be separated from God. And he knows that in order to hurt God the worst, get at his kids. Separate them from God. So this entire Bible, whole thing, is about God saying, come back to me. Come back to me. And in the Old Testament, he tells that to Moses. He says, look, all y'all went to Egypt. You were completely taken advantage of, completely tortured. It was horrible. And I pulled you out and rescued you. Now I want to comfort you and have you back with me. So he invites them to the mountain to meet with them. And they're like, no, that's too scary. That's too much smoke, too much fire, too much lightning. The mountain's moving. There's a huge dark cloud on it. It's really scary. It's really loud. It's all that's moving. We are petrified. Moses, we're going to send you. You go and you listen to God. You get those commandments and you come back and tell us. That's not how God wanted the group to do it. He wanted one-on-one time. And he said, fine. You know what, Moses, write this down. So Moses comes back down. Y'all can read about the story of how that didn't go well. But he gives them the 10 commandments in book Deuteronomy, chapter 5. He gives the 10 commandments, okay? And there are 10 commandments. You're going to have to read them and open your Bible and see what he says to you about how well you are doing with these. Because these don't go away, but they do get condensed. We don't live under this law anymore, but we are accountable to it. Does that make sense? And then he sums it all up for them. He's like, here's the whole point of why I gave this to you. Now this commandment and statutes, I'm in chapter 6, which the Lord your God has commanded me, Moses, to teach you, remember, because you didn't go to the mountain, and be taught by yourself with him, that you might do them in the land where you're going to possess. So when we go from this desert, which we're not supposed to be in for a long time, guys, if you followed the Lord God and did this, we would only be in here for 40 days, not 40 years. But that's fine. Still redeemed. So when you do this, where you're going to possess it, so that you and your sons and your grandson might fear the Lord your God. That's the posture you're supposed to live your life. literally in submission, not fear of the Lord as in I'm scared of him, but fear of the Lord as in he could end my life. He's in charge of my life. He's in control of my life. To keep all of his statutes and in commandments, which I commanded you. He gave them the 10 commandments because when they were in Egypt, they were following Egyptian rules. But the Egyptians were immoral. And so God was like, no, the rules that you grew up with are not what are on my rules. So he gave them the 10 commandments to say common stuff that we know today. Don't steal. Don't murder. Don't commit adultery. Don't lie. Don't follow other gods. Guys, we do all of those today. I'm going to do that in a different video. Don't worry. Apparently, that's what I'm supposed to do. So, okay. O Israel, you should listen and be careful to do it, what he commanded you. Why? So that all the days of your life and all the days may be prolonged. Because there really was if you didn't do it well, an immediate consequence came. So today, if you don't live right with the Lord, he is gracious. Sometimes there's immediate consequences, sometimes there's not. And sometimes it's long suffering, which means I suffer something for a long period of time to get you to change, and then I will have to bring consequences. But it might not be your generation. It might be sons and grandsons. Okay. O Israel, you should listen and be careful to do it, that it may be well with you. This is how you were made to live in relationship with God in the fear of the Lord, and that you may multiply greatly, just as the Lord, the God of your fathers, has promised you in a land flowing with milk and honey. Okay. Hear, O Israel, the Lord is your God, and he is one. Not multiple gods, just one. You shall love the Lord your God. This is Deuteronomy 6:5. With all your heart and with all your soul and with all your might. These words I'm commanding you today shall be on your heart. So lock them in. They didn't have this written down. They finally had the 2 stone tablets, but they didn't have it down in every household. Okay? You shall teach them diligently to your sons. Share this. And shall talk of them when you sit in your house, when you're here, and in your group, and when you walk by the way. So everyone outside is listening to these conversations and being edified, the word, what other word for edified? Encouraged, reminded. And when you lie down, so even when you're resting, rest in him. And when you rise up, so when you get up to do things, you shall bind them as a sign on your hand and on the front of your forehead. Now, some people have taken that literally and put the scripture on their head. Okay, that's great. That's a good idea. And that is what they eventually did, literally. But what God is trying to say more is the first part. You shall love the Lord. It does not say, you shall love the Lord your God with all your might, all your mind, all your soul, all your heart. No, which one's first? You know this one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart. Put it deep inside of you, the core of who you are. And then with all your soul. Remember, guys? Remember your soul? Okay, your soul is your conscience, your reason, your imagination, your will, your choice, your emotions, and your mind. Love the Lord your God with all the heart of you, the inside, and all your soul, with your mind, with your will, with your choices, with your actions, with all your might. Your might is your body, like how strong you are and how much you're going. Okay, and then teach them and then talk about them all the time so that you don't lose it, so that you don't forget. Everywhere you go, and write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Doorposts of your house is what you pass when you're going to in and out to see somebody of your house. So the inside of your house and your gate is the farthest part, and on your border. So all throughout your land and your property. Okay? Then it shall come about that the Lord your God brings you into the land he swore to your fathers. He is trustworthy and he will do it to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Remember, he likes threes. To give you great, splendid cities which you did not build, and houses full of good things you did not fill, and cisterns you did not dig, and vineyards and olive trees you did not plant. You ate and are satisfied. He's giving you a fully set up spot, a mansion in that time instead of a tent. Cities are mansions compared to tents, trust me. And water has already been provided, and food has already been provided, and shelter has already been provided. All of this has already been pre-built for you. Then watch yourself that you do not forget the Lord who brought you from the land of Egypt and the house of slavery. Guys, your heart is the first thing that will turn from God to yourself, to other gods or other things, and it will love other things that it can see, feel, touch, smell, eat. You shall fear only the Lord your God and worship him and swear by his name, because they swore by every god at the time because of Egypt. You shall not follow other gods. Do not put your hope and trust in anything else, of any of the gods of the people who surround you. So God had them go into the promised land and take out certain people groups who he mentions very specifically. But he also left some there to be surrounding his people. Why? Because he wanted them to buffer and to rub against them and to keep his word. So if I tell you not to open the door and go outside, but I lock and barricade the door, so you don't actually make that choice to obey me. I just make it so that you can't. That's two different things. He still always gives us the choice to obey him. Always. Because he wants the relationship, not just dictatorship. Okay? So if anyone tells you God's a dictator, he's not. He's exact. He's holy. He's perfect. And he has very, very specific things for you. But that does not mean that he is unloving and a dictator is only focused on themselves. It's not God. He really cares for you. Okay. So you shall not follow other gods and of the people that surround you. Verse 15, for the Lord your God is in the midst of you and is a jealous God. I'm jealous too. If my husband started talking to another woman a lot on the phone, at night, email a lot, share things back and forth in text message, I become jealous. Why? Because I want his attention and affection, and I had it first. God says the same thing. Otherwise, the anger of the Lord your God will be kindled. Remember that fire, spark? Flamed against you, and he will wipe you off the face of the earth. He already threatened to do it when they had the 10 Commandments the first time. And Moses got upset about it also, and then he had to do it again. So just FYI, go back into reading Moses's testimony. It's really amazing. Okay, you shall not put the Lord your God to the test. This is verse 16. As you tested him at Massah, you should diligently keep the commands of the Lord. Which ones? The 10 Commandments. And his testimonies and his statutes which he commanded you. You shall do what is right and good in the sight of the Lord, that it may go well with you. You may go and possess the good land which the Lord swore to give your fathers. Okay, this is the key foundation. 10 Commandments. The reason I give you the 10 Commandments is to turn you back. And the whole point is to love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, all your strength. He says that when they first got out of Egypt and into the wilderness. Then again in Deuteronomy 10 and 11. Why does he say that in Deuteronomy 10 and 11? This is when the tablets were written and were rewritten. Sorry, I'm reading. So chapter 10, verse 12. Now Israel, this is Moses speaking again to the entire group. What does the Lord your God require from you but to fear the Lord your God, to walk in all of his ways and love him, and to serve the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul, And verse 13, to keep the commandments and his statutes which I'm commanding you today for your good. Behold, to the Lord your God belongs heaven and the highest heavens and the earth and all that is in it. So why do you go to him? Because he's the one who owns this all and created this all. Yet on your fathers did the Lord set his affection to love them. He chose you guys, and he chose their descendants after them, and even all the people as it is for today. Here we go. Here's why he's saying this, guys. Verse 16, so circumcise your heart and stiffen your neck no longer. Guys, you were proud. A stiff neck is a proud one that does not bend down and apologize. Bend down and say, I don't know everything. Bend down and serve the Lord. Circumcise your heart, meaning cut off and soften your heart. Why? For the Lord your God is the God of gods and the Lord of lords. There is no other, the great, the mighty, the awesome God who does not show partiality. So he doesn't have favorites. Anyone and everyone follow after him. And he doesn't take a bribe. If you think you're acting for him or doing something for him so that he does this for you, nope. He sees your heart. Forget it. He executes justice for the orphan and the widow and shows his love for the alien by giving him food and clothing, by taking care of them. So show your love for the alien. For you were aliens in the land of Egypt. He's not saying the little gray people, aliens. He's saying the people that aren't from your group. So it could be like the foreigner, the one who comes in and lives with you, which is not, by the way, from the groups that he told you not to intermarry with, by the way. But he's saying people who aren't in your nationality. Still human. Just want to point that out. Okay. You shall fear the Lord your God. Again, he starts that. The fear of the Lord means you focus on the Lord, not yourself. You know he is greater. He just said that. You shall serve him, see, and cling to him, and shall swear by his name alone. Meaning, call on his name alone. He is your praise. He is your God who has done all these great and awesome things. Your fathers went down to Egypt as 7 people, and now the Lord has made you as numerous as the stars in the heavens. Look at what he has done for you. Look at how much he has multiplied you. Okay, and then chapter 11 is the rewards for obedience. What does it say? You shall therefore keep every commandment I'm commanding you again today. Wow, Moses, you're pretty repetitive. Yeah, Crystal, because you're pretty forgetful. Yeah, you're forgetful. So that you may be strong and go in and possess the land into which you are about to cross and possess. Guys, you're going to fight. You have to fight something in order to get what God has given you. If you are living a cushy life, you're not fighting. If you're living a convenient life, you're not fighting. If you're living a good life, you are not fighting for it. He says you need to stay in his commands today and be strong in him and go possess the land that I have called you to possess. So if he's saying go possess it and fight for it, that means someone else is possessing it. P.S. If you don't think you're in spiritual warfare right now, you are losing. You are automatically losing if you don't think you're in spiritual warfare. Trust me, if you are in a war zone and you stick your head in the sand and say it's all, rainbows and roses, you will get taken out. Or the enemy will be like, they are not a threat. Leave them alone. Let them do their thing. Maybe they'll bring others and tell them, no, everything's good. Everything looks peaceful. Everything looks fine. No. The New Testament says you do not fight against flesh and blood, but against powers and principalities and evil darkness, an enemy. Eve, the serpent was more crafty than anyone else, any other animal that God had put on the land. Okay, I'll tell you about that later. So Eve looked at the serpent innocently asking a question. Did that serpent have her best interest in heart? No, it did not. He was her enemy. And your enemies do not always come out with guns blazing and full armor and loud noises. A lot of times they'll ask a very crafty question. Wait, your favorite subject is God the Father, right? Did he ask you about this tree that you're looking at? Innocent question. I'm just asking you a question. I'm just putting doubt in your mind. I'm just asking if you really believe and trust him. I'm really just testing out how good is your armor? How good is your relationship with God? Is it really solid and you've really anchored in him? Or do you care about the opinions of others? Do you care about what the thing that's talking to you is saying, and you are focusing on them and not on solidly your relationship with God? That's the question. Oh, so innocent, but it's not. Okay, we're going back. I digress. You shall keep every commandment I'm commanding you today, to be strong and courageous, to prolong your days with the Lord, who will give you the land flowing with milk and honey. And that's a promised land, by the way, meaning it's not a drought. Milk and honey means that there's flowers for bees who create honey for you. You as a human cannot create honey that I know of. Milk is from other animals who have babies, who procreate, which means there's more of them, which means there's food and water, which means there's good land and safety, which means that there's numbers of them, which means you will get milk from another animal. This is a good, developed, beautiful, bountiful land. Milk and honey, that's what that means. Okay, a land for which the Lord your God cares. Whoa, God cares about the land too? Yes, he does. And watch this. Verse 12, the eyes of the Lord your God are always on it. He is watching and he is stewarding the land from the beginning even to the end of the year, all year long. So a lot of times the Egyptian gods were seasonal, right? The Nile flooded seasonally. Then there was a lot of rain in the summer and drought, and then they had seasons. But he's saying this God is different. He sees you all year long. It's plentiful. It shall come about if you listen obediently to my commandments, which I've commanded you today, to love the Lord your God and to serve him with all your heart and all your soul, that he will give you rain for your land in its season. He'll keep watering you, and early and late rain all the time, that you may gather in your grain and your new wine and your oil, that you may be refilled. Food, grain, wine to drink, oil to use. They used it all the time in everyday life. He will give you grass in your fields, right, for your cattle, and you will eat and be satisfied. Guys, he will take care of you completely. Verse 16, beware that your hearts are not deceived. Remember Eve? Don't let your heart be deceived. And that you do not turn away and serve other gods and worship them. Did you know, guys, that you can worship yourself too? That's what Eve did. She did not turn from her conversation with the serpent to God. Or to Adam, by the way. He doesn't say a word at that situation. Whether he's there or not, I'm not debating. I'm just saying she did not go ask her husband. She did not go ask her God, whom she was in a relationship with. So, do not turn away and serve other gods and worship them. It will be convenient. If you go for convenience, you will look to other people. If you go for convenience, you will look to other books that people have written about God. But you can only go to God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, all your strength, which is like an uphill. Uphill. Fight it. If you're going to work out at the gym, strengthen yourself. If you're going to go start a running race club, run. Run. Start walking, but run. Do it with all your heart, all your mind, all your soul, all your strength, because you will have opposition, because you are fighting your heart, your nature, and your enemy. You are in a war. You are fighting what? Distractions, natural inclinations, experiences that you've had of past trauma or hurt or anger or whatever, like open wounds inside. You're fighting sin and death and Satan, which just means an adversarial enemy. I like to call him the eternal loser. And guess what? Losers are upset. Losers try to take everyone else down. Losers do not like to lose. So, Moses is saying, when you start your relationship, this is the point. Again, let me impress these words of mine on your heart and your soul, and you shall bind them as a sign on your hand and the front of your forehead. Why? Because you shake hands and use them all day long, and your forehead, because that's what people see when they first see you. They see the forehead. It's up here in front. It can't be hidden. It's up here. The front and the heart, inside and outside. Inside where you and God are, outside where people see you. Okay. Oh, this is amazing. You shall teach them to your sons. Again, share them. When do you share them? Just in school? Just at church? Just in a Bible study? No, watch this. Verse 19, talking to them when you sit in your house, when you walk on the road, along the road, and when you lie down and when you rise up. All four things. When you're active, when you're passively resting and relaxing, when you're just inside your home instructing, like teaching, and when you're just talking about it, like going to run errands. Keep up the conversation all day long is what he's saying. So that, again, and on your doorposts of your home and your gates, he repeats himself. Why? So that you remember. So that your days and the sun's days may be multiplied on earth as long as the heavens remain above the earth. For if you are careful, that means really, really diligent, to keep all his commands, which I'm commanding you to do. Love the Lord your God, to walk in all his ways and hold fast to him. Like desperate grip. Hold fast to him as if your life depends on it. Moses is saying, and I'm going to paraphrase for a second because I keep reading. God is saying, hold on to me with all that you've got, because you don't realize, if you don't, you will let go and you will be done forever. If you just do actions for God and do not come back to him, you will be moved away. Remember? Where was it? Deceived. You will be deceived and you will turn away. You didn't want to, but do you know what deception does? Deception checks your foundation and it says, how strong is it? How tight are they together? How hard are they holding on to God? How good a best friend are they? Enough that if I give you a small doubt and plant a small innocent question, will they turn straight around to God and go, is that what you said? Or will they just say, yeah, that sounds good to me? That's the question. And then, guys, I have a whole nother section, because it's said in the New Testament also, and it shows the fruit of what happens when you do love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, all your strength. This one's too long. I'm going to give you another one.